All right, so um, we are going to continue with our class, and today we'll be talking about background in CSS because when you are working with your design, there are some places you need to apply background, and these are different types of properties that you can apply when you are dealing with background. These are the common one. This is not all, but these are the common one. Most especially this background color, and anywhere you need image as background, you always use this background image. Or anywhere you need like a gradient, you always use background image for that. So let me go to this site and see what they are using. And this site right now is using plain white, but when you go to some other site or even this site sef, you look at that, it have a background of this light red color there like that. So let me find another site that is really using background there. Yeah, so this one is using black, but I don't want, it's not even black, but I don't want black background because it's just normal stuff there like that. But background is really useful anytime you need to apply background to your page or to your element. For example, like this one now. So this is the background here, but this one is using image instead of color. But there's another one too that is going to be gradient. Look at this button. Can you see that it's not pure blue? There's some area there that is having a light blue and the other one is like a darker blue. So this is gradient here, and this is background too on all this button, and you can see all this button, they have background. So how do you do something like this that Microsoft is using? So we're going to see how to do everything today. Again, so if you look at some of their text, you see that the color inside it is gradient. It's not just normal color. So it's still background that you're going to use to do this. Even though it looks like color, but once it's gradient, then you can't use color to do it. The normal color property, it have to be background. But you have to tell it that the background should be inside the text, not that it will just be at the back of the text there. Because if you look at this one, I see that the background is at the back, not inside the text. So you can control it by telling it how is the background going to clip to the content. Do you want it to clip inside, or you want it to go outside of the stuff, and so forth like that. So you can use background properties to do all this stuff. For example, here now, let me come to the CSS file. So I'm going to be using body because it actually have a lot of content, and that's what we can use for you to see some of the action there like that. So here I'm going to use my background color, which is what you know already. You can use any type of color that we've talked about, whether it is the name color or it is RGB color, or is it X color, or the HSL color and named color that we've talked about. So yeah, we just use the named one, and once it's saved, you see that the background, which is the body, everything is inside the body, so it's going to apply the background on the body. But instead of me applying on the body, I can actually apply it on any elements that I want on the page instead of putting it on the body. So save now, as you can see, the background is going to be on the H1, not the body again. But for this background image, I always want to put it on the body because that's where you're going to see some of the property that related to background image there. Because some of this property is when you apply background image, that's where you are going to see them in action there like that. What's wrong with VS Code? Ah, so I need to expand this thing so that I can apply what I want to do. So view and word wrap, so that yeah, so this thing can show on a line. And let me reduce this one a little bit so that we can see where it starts from and when it ends. So we can increase this one to a little bit, reduce this one small. Yeah, I think everything is perfect like this. So we have this background color, which is just the simplest one there. Just apply background, and it's going to use the color. But what if you don't want to use color? We want to do something that Microsoft is doing here. So as you can see, there's a gradient. This one now, as you can, is just normal color that is here, like that, which is a light blue. So you can use your background color. But once you started mixing multiple colors together to form a background, it have to be image, because you can't mix multiple colors together by using background color. It have to be image. Or when you want to display image as background, you still have to use background image. So how do you talk to it that you want to use image or you want to use gradient? So you'll be using this property here, background image. And when you want to apply background image, as you can see, it's bringing out all this stuff, but the only one we need here is this linear gradient that we have here. So this is how you can apply gradient. So we have different type of gradient. We have the linear one. So what is linear? It means the color you're applying, they follow each other in a straight line. No, that's linear. So one color starts here, then when that one is done, the next one will follow. So that's linear. But when you're talking about conical, they are not following a straight line. It can be anywhere, like you can mix it together. For example, here now, linear gradient like this. So let me type it to Google so that you can see some of the sample of a linear gradient there. And I can see that the network is not loading. So let me check. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a linear. You can see the color. It's in the form of a straight line. Starting from this color, then it transitions to the other color. Then from there to it moves to the other, but it's moved like a straight, in a straight line form. It doesn't need to go from left to right like this. You can actually change later on to right to left or for the diagonal one, but it's always going to be in a form of a line, as you can see here. So it's always going to be in a form of line. But instead of this kind of gradient, we have another type of gradient which is known as this radial or conical, which work like a circle. So radial, like it's not following the normal straight line, but it's like a circular stuff. So we have the radial gradient like this, and this one now kind of crazy because you are mixing multiple stuff, but it's not like a line that you are, so it's always going to be like this, and you can use it to create some kind of a crazy gradient later on. For example, here, let me go to this site. So vits.dev. So this is a site that is using gradient on their side. So if you look at it, that's a gradient going. This one is linear here. For the main background on the site, you see that there is this kind of a gradient that is going on that is not in a straight line. As you can see, this one mixed together. So this is what we call radial gradient. But the one they are using here is linear because it's moved from this color and it's transitioning to the second color. So this is the one we are focusing on right now because it's the most cheapest one compared to this radial one that is really, really advanced there, because you have to start mentioning the radial, like conical stuff thereby. So specifying the radius, you specify the x and y and all those things, but we don't want to do that here. We really want to deal with the simple one first there, like that. And how do you create a gradient? So to create the simple one, what we need to use here is this linear gradient. And what do you need to give it? The most simplest stuff you need to give it is the colors that you want to mix together. So here, I want to start from red, then it will transition into green, then from green it will transition into orange like this. So save now, you see that we have the gradient starting from the red, so it will move, then from there it will move to this orange. So just specify the color that you want and it's going to uh, create a gradient out of that color. But if you look at it, the color is starting from top and it's going down. But if you look at the design that is here, you see that one is like a diagonal one. So it starts from here, from this sky blue, and it enter this kind of a light purple here. So our own too, we should be able to change the direction of the gradient. So you should be able to start from bottom up or from top down, which is the default one that is there. Or you should be able to start from left to right or from right to left. So before you mention the color, you can actually specify the direction for the gradient. If you don't specify it, as you can see, it will be from top to the bottom here. So, and this in follow math stuff, there like that. So you just need to supply the degree that you want. So like, in maths, you have the quadrant and you have all your this thing that you can move there. So for example, here, if I move in 45-degree, then it's going to generate this stuff in a slant form, because this is 90 like this, then 45 is going to be something like this. But we don't want to be doing maths like this. You don't want to start cracking your head to know the degree there. CSS actually have predefined value for the common distance that we have there. So it have the value for the one that will start from the top and it will come down here, or the one that will start from this angle and it will still do the same thing that we have here. So we can use some of the CSS predefined value instead of us passing the degree directly by ourselves. So this one I have to, then you mention the side that you want it to go to. So when you say to, so which side do you want it to go to? Whatever side you mention, it will start from the opposite side of it. So since we said here now, we're using to right. We said we want this thing to end on the right. That means it must start from the left side. So the red will now be from here, and the last one is going to end on the right side. So once it's saved now, as you can see, is now from the left to the right because you specify where you want it to stop there. So it will start from here and it will end at the last color based on the side you mentioned. If I want this red to stop, or if I want this red now to start from the right side and end on the left, so what we just do is to use to left, because now it will start from the opposite of left, which is right. So which means the red will start from here, then it will keep moving all the way to the left side. So we've changed it right now like that. So if you measure right, then it's going to go towards the right, starting from left. If you mention left, it's going to go to left, starting from the right. And at the same time, too, you can mention top, which is what is there by default. No, this is not what is there. What is there is there to bottom, because it to start from the opposite, which is like this, like that. But we can actually mention that this thing too should go to the top. So don't start from the top, start from the bottom and move towards the top. So these are different sides you can mention. And again, too, you can mention the diagonal one. So this one now is top, but this is the top left, because we have the diagonal one so that you can specify them, just like the way it's showing on this side. You see that their one is diagonal. It's not just going to that top, it's going like it's something like this, or it's going downward to the bottom right there. So we too, we can specify this value, what's going on with this thing. So let me quit. It's not bringing out the way it's supposed to. So background, let me open my pencil again because I want to circle this stuff so that it can show. All right, so we have this. This is our top here. So this is the top left. So this is going to be our top right there, like that. So this is going to be the top right. What's going on? So this is going to be top right. So here too, we have the bottom. So we have the bottom. This is the bottom. This one is going to be the bottom left, and this is going to be your bottom right, like that. So which means here now, you can use all this in now to specify the diagonal side. Instead of you just mentioning top, bottom, left, or right, you can specify the diagonal side too, which is going to give us that design that we're seeing on that side there. So to have something like that, what we just need to do is to use VS Code. What is all this? So what we can do here, let me move this thing up a little bit. Yeah. So now we can just specify the top right. So it's not just the top that we want this thing to start from. It has to start from the top right. So it's going to start from here and it will move, because it's always moving to the it's always starting from the opposite side. So if you want this stuff to stop here, then that means it to start from this diagonal here. So if you want this thing to stop here, it means it to start from here. If you want it to stop here, that means it will start, it will always start from the opposite side. And as you can see here, since we want it to be at the top right, then it means it will start from this side. But if it's not right, if it is at top left, then that means it will start from here and it keep moving towards that side there, like that. So, and that's what that site is using to create that gradient. But their own now, they are using 2 colors, not 3 colors. If you want, you can specify 10, 30, but most of the time, the color you will be using might not pass this 3, but you can specify any number of color that you want. It will split based on the strength of the color. Because if you look at the red, is not having much compared to green. Green is taking a lot because of their strength there. But you can actually control where one color is going to start or where one color is going to stop before moving into the other color. Because here now, if you look at the red stop around here before going into green. So you can control where that thing is going to stop before transitioning into the other color. Because if you look at this side now, you see that we have more of this purple compared to the blue. So you can control the stop color by supplying the stuff from, let me close this one. Yes. Because the color falls under mixing of color. Does it fall under the image? Yes. It will convert it to image. Even though you are using color, but it's going to convert it. That's why you're using background image, because color is just a single color. But when you're dealing with gradient, you know you are dealing with multiple color. So you know the way normal color work, it will give you another color separately. But this one you are mixing them, and all of them are there. So they are coming in a form of background are there. So you can't use background color; it will not work. It has to be background image. If you need a single color, that's background color. But if you need gradient like this, you need to use background image. So that's how it works. So the one that I'm talking about here, which is the stop color. So this one allows you to mention where you want one color to start from, or where you want one color to end before transitioning into the other color. Because if you look at it right now, see that now that we're using two colors, see that red is taking more than the green. So what if you want to talk to this thing? Let me even change it to see this thing to just be to left like this so that we can see it clearly. You see that this one, it looks like it's taking more than, or it looks like, if you look, this is where it stops. But from here, it starts transitioning into the green. For here, we can specify where it's going to stop before moving into green. So here now I can specify 70%. So what I'm saying here, red, you take at least 70% of the entire width or wherever you used to stop. You take 70% of it before you start transitioning into the next color like that. And as you can see here now, so you see that it stopped around this side, which is like 70% before moving into the other color. If you don't specify it, this thing will work based on the strength of the colors that you are using. So it to stop, then it to keep transitioning into. So where did this stop? It's not really stopping here. This is not where it stopped. It stopped around here, then it starts moving into the other color. So where it stopped, that is now doing that transition in there, is what we call the stop color. So, and you can specify it after the color here. For example, if I want this thing to reach at least 50% before going into the other color, then here it will be there like that. And again, too, it's all depending on the strength. So it's going to be around that before it starts transitioning into the other color like that. But most of all this thing, you won't be doing it yourself. We have a lot of tools online that help you, because you don't want to be doing it yourself like this. Like you go online and you use some tools that will help you to generate gradients. Then you just use the code that will be generated for you there like that. But you need to know what that thing is generating for you, because like sometimes you need to modify some stuff there, not what you are getting from Figma. That's what you just use directly. You need to update it. But if you don't know what is going on, there is no way you know which value to update there like that, because when you're using your Figma, the screen that one is using will be really big, but where you want to use it is a small screen. So it's using a big number. So you need to normalize that number so that it works based on the screen that you are working on. So because Figma will be generating all this thing for you later on once you are working with the Figma design there. But some of the number there are not going to be the correct number, because if you use that number, you see that it's not looking like the way it is on that design, because that number there is not the same thing as the number that the normal browser is using. So you need to normalize it so that it will work correctly. And once you see the number, you already know that, okay, this is a stop color, and that's the reason why I'm explaining it here like that. So and I will leave it like this for sample stuff. So you can't apply gradients by using background image followed by linear gradient, and inside linear gradient you supply whatever you want. So you can actually see this side, this button. So if you inspect it, you see what they are using to generate. And you see that what they are using there shouldn't be more than the linear gradient for that, for them to have that. Can you see the one they are even using is radial. So which means they are using that circular one there. But see, there is a lot of things to be specified before you have. So they are doing a lot of crazy stuff here for their own to come. And as you can see, that can you see that there's a stop color attached to the stop, but this one is using radial and like a circular stop. So you need to supply the radius. That's why he's doing this at. Again, too, you need to supply the coordinate x and y. So that's why we're not going into this radial one, but we can borrow their color. So we can borrow this their color. Let me see which one do we need. Okay, we need this two color code. So instead of us using that red and whatever stuff, so we can replace this one. And at the same time, for the second color too, we've talked about different ways of representing color. As you can see now, this side is using X. So you can see any one of them. That's why we need to talk about them. And when you see them, it will look strange to you like that. So now going back to our home page and save the stuff, then as you can see, we have something like that. But you know, we don't want it to be from left to right. What we can do here is to use to button right here, because it will start from here and it will end here. So it's supposed to be to the bottom right. And as you can see now that we have it, but this one is taking more than no, I need to switch it because the color, I want it to look like this. You can see that their own blue is at the top while the other color is down. So we need to switch it so that we can have that same stuff. So instead of it to go to the bottom right, then it's going to go to the since we are starting with the last color, so we need to reverse it. So it's going to be top left like this. So save it now, and as you can see, we're going to have the same kind of look like that. And you can see that this one is taking more space than the other one, or you can even remove it so that it will just use their strength to calculate the stop. You can see now that blue is not taking more than that. So that's why we need the stop color, because we need more of this purple than that blue that we have there. So this one will now control. So at least 40% before you start transitioning into the other color that follows you like that. So this is how you can use gradient as a background, and that's what this site is doing here, this Microsoft stuff that you're seeing. So what they are doing here is to apply gradients at that place. Let me see what they are using to like this. So inspect the code, and I should bring out the CSS that they are using for that particular. You can see they are using normal background, but when it is over, that's when it's having that style. Because when you go inside it, that's where it's displayed. So we can actually mimic that stuff. So the browser actually have a way, because now it's only when you're on top of it that the style will come outside. So you can mimic that style by clicking on this over, and you can use any of the. So you want to mimic this over state. So it will now, so you are not there, but you are acting as if you are there, so that you can see the style that the browser is applying at that place. So what are they doing there? Where is the stuff? Which element are they using? There, let me see. Background is what I'm seeing here. Where is it? Or they are using box shadow. Let me see. Let me enter the box. Let me enter the button. Is there any other thing inside it? Okay. But this is the normal text. Oh, this is what they are using. Where is it? Can you see what they are using? Linear gradient. So you see that they are using the degree. They did not really use the normal CSS. So if you want to predefine like your own custom value now, you have to use the degree. But you know, this one is just like 180 to me, because this is 184, which is the same thing as 180, because the thing is just a little bit off of the 180 there like that. And as you can see, different color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see that they are now supplying their stop color there? So anytime you now see something, it will not look strange to you when other people are doing it. Here they are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 color, and each one of them, as you can see, they control. So this one will take at least 7%. Then this one will stop around that 24% of the entire stuff. This one will stop around that 36. This one around 62, and this one around 97, just continue like that. And that's why you see it look like they're using the same color but with like a different variant of that color to create this kind of a shining stuff. So you can create all this in yourself directly by using some of these tools online, then you get the code. But if the code is giving you is not matching the thing, you have to update. Yes. Yes. It's not Otaku is 360. You know, this thing is like this. So this is 1, 2. You know, this here now this is 45. So by the time you get here now, you know it will be around. So let me apply it so that you see it. It's just like you are on a straight line like this. So that's what. But they now offset it by like that, like 4 degree extra 4 degrees. So which means it will just come down. No, normally it's supposed to be on a line like this, but it's now coming down a little bit by 4 degree like that. So where is it? Where's our own? So go back there. So instead of us using that predefined value that is coming from CSS, then we too we can use a 184 degree like this. And as you can see, it's just going to be a little bit off of one, because to me it looks like it's 180, just 4 piece, like it's just 4 that is adding to the stuff. So you know, if you use 90 degree like this, so as you can see, which putting them side by side, and when you use 180 degree, which is going to be like this, but that extra 4 just shift it down a little bit. So that's just what they are doing. Instead of it to be like this, they are just, I can see, they just offset it a little bit. So that's the stubble. They don't want it to be diagonal directly, just a little bit down and not much. So if you need custom stuff, then you apply the degree yourself. But most of the time, the design you see, don't be use this, or you can use your degree yourself. But most of it, all this thing I work with, most of the time I only use the CSS predefined value for all this. So all these are to left to right. Behind the scene, they are just generating all this value. Because if you go to the CSS under the computed, you are going to see that those are the stuff is doing behind the scene. They just create a name for them so that you don't need to start cramming the stuff. Just type the name and it will do the necessary stuff. Just like the color that I mentioned, transparent. What it's just doing is setting the alpha channel to 0. It's not that it's doing any special work behind the scene. So, like that. So yeah, instead of using color gradient as background, you can actually use normal image as a background. So to use normal image as background, what you are going to do is to use this URL. And what is URL? URL, this is what you use to connect the image that you want to load as background. You know, just like the image tag that we have, you know, you need to supply the source attribute where the image is coming from. Again, to here, you are talking to this background image that you want to use normal image, but where is that image coming from? So this URL is what you use to point to where the image is coming from. So I can use any image from any site. Once I have the URL to that image, I will just put it inside the box there. This one, they are not using image. I don't think they are using image, because this one now is, as you can see, yeah. So they are not using image, because those one are SVG, because it's changing, and you know, image is not going to change like that. So let me just come here. Image is static, so except you are using the GIF that can, you know, move around like that. So what I want to do here is the landscape, so just image, because you can use local image or you can use online image. Just pass the URL of that image to it, and it will go there and fetch the image for you. So let me get the image. So this is the image that I want to use. What we just need to do is to right click on it, copy the image link, go back to our page, and now we can paste it inside URL. You can paste it without quotes, or you can put it inside the code, but by convention I always put them inside code, like that. So if you can do it like this, it will work. And as you can see, it's not showing anything, but right now it's actually working. Why are we not seeing the entire image? Is because that image is bigger than the stuff. So how do you now control how the image is going to be placed wherever you're using it? That's where all these background repeat comes in, background position, background size. So all this one control the image that you are using. It works with gradient too when your gradient is repeating, because there are some places when you use gradient where it's more than where it's supposed to be, it will start repeating itself. Again too, this image is really big or is really large. That's why it's not repeating. Anytime you use image, wherever you're using it, if that box is bigger than that image, it will keep repeating itself until it's covered up. And that is why I want to be using this thing on body. I don't want to use it on H1 because we know that our body is really big too, like that. So I don't know how big this image is, but let me change it to body. And once you can see, it's still big. Like the thing is really big. The image is really big. You can see here, like it's really large, like that. So we need to be able to contain it inside our box. Don't just get like start going anyhow like this. So another thing we can do here, so we can have control over the image, is to save it, then we reduce the size. So another thing we can do here is let me save the image, and once the image is saved, then I can control it, because it's not only the image that you have online that you can use. You can have your local image in the project, so you can use that one too directly. So let me get the image. So download, other download. So this is the image that we want to use. So where's our VS Code? Let me expand this box and let me move it inside the place. So I'm going to move it inside like this. Then we can start connecting to this one, but it's really large. So what I need to do, reveal in Explorer, and it will open the one that we put there. Then the next thing we need to do is to edit it and adjust the dimension of the image there. So we need to use the tool, which is this one, and it's not this photo. I don't know why this Microsoft is hiding it down. They want you to be using that one, and Paint is what I want to use because it's quite easy to do with this Paint compared to that their normal editor that they have now. So here now we can, as you can see, we can resize the image. Where are you? Yeah. So I want to reduce the stuff by percentage. So this is 100% of the image, whatever size that is there before. Can you see it is 407 this thing? So you can take percentage of it. So if I take 50% now, whatever that used to be here before, it will slash it by 50%. So this thing should be around that 200 and something now. As you can see, that slash it by 50%. So save it, and as you can see, it has changed here too. So it's not 400 and something again. That has been slashed down. Then now we can connect to that our image by going back into the code. So under this one, instead of connecting to this online one, then we can connect to our local image. We know that they're inside the same folder. So dot slash, then it will give us access to it. Now save it and go back to the page. We should have, can you see what is happening now? It's now repeating because the image is not like the original one again. So it's not like it has been reduced. So and that image cannot cover up the entire body. So what the browser will do by default is to keep repeating the image until it cover up the entire stuff. So this is what the browser will do by default. Anytime you use image and that image cannot cover up that place where you are using it, the container where you are using it, to keep repeating the image. But you don't want the thing to repeat, because most of the time you don't want it. This is old way of doing this stuff. But you know, everything that has been happening right from 1990 something there, they did not remove them. They are adding more features, but they are not removing the old stuff like that, because they don't want to break any site that was built based on all these things. So, but most of the sites you see these days, they don't repeat image like this. It's just one. So you can use some of these CSS property to control the stuff by using this background repeat. So this background repeat property now, you can use it to control which side you want to repeat, or you don't even want to repeat any at all. So we have repeat, which is what is using by default. It will not, there won't be any difference because that's what is doing by default. So it's going to repeat the image, and it's always going to do it if that image it's not large enough to cover up the box. But you can actually specify that we want it to repeat for a particular axis there. So we can talk to this, and that is really going to repeat on the x axis, like the horizontal alone, nothing like a vertical one. So if I save now, as you can see now, it's only repeating on the x, it's not repeating the y like this. Or if you want it to repeat on the y, then it only repeats on the y-axis. There is nothing like x. But the one I normally use is no repeat. I don't even want you to repeat anything at all. No repeat like this. And what does that mean? It will always use the normal image that you put there. There won't be anything like repetition for x and y there. So once this thing is saved, now as you can see, this is the original image. Every other thing that you have seen before, they are just repetition of what we have here. And this is the original size of the image. So the original size is this, which is around that 200 something that is showing us that time. But we can actually change the size too. Just because the size is like this doesn't mean we cannot alter the size of the, your normal image too. You can change the size. Here to the background image, you can change its size by using this background size. But before I get to this background size, I want to talk about this position. Because if you look at the image now, it is positioned towards this edge of the page at the top. But what if you want to move it to the right, or you want to move it to the center, or you want it to come down to the bottom part? That's where the position comes in. Position, you can use it to move that image around inside that container where it's being used. So since I'm using inside body now, I can move it around inside the body. But if I use inside any other element, then you know that it will be working based on that. The way you are moving it is based on that element, because it only works based on where you are using the stuff. So here we have this background position, and this background position too, you can change, because don't forget, when you're talking about position, you have x and y, which is the height and this thing. So you can move on x and you can move on y. So this background position, it's going to change both x and y at the same time. And this one too is a shorter property, because it can help you to change x and y. Because now if I load this in again, can you see there is x and there is y, and there is this background position. So the background position can change the two of them. And for you to change x, just supply the value of x followed by space, and you supply the value of y in case you want to change y. If you don't change y, it is default to center, which is 50% of wherever is being used. If you don't change the y, it will default to this predefined value of CSS. And this CSS value, that center you are seeing, is just the same thing as this 50%. Percentage is based on that container where you are working with. But instead of you doing it like this, just use the predefined CSS value. So if I want this thing to go towards the other side, I can just use right, because I know that right is just talking about the edge of the container. So once it's saved now, as you can see, I did not mention y, so it's come down to the center, but the x that I mentioned is on the right. So if I don't want it to go there, what I can do is to use top. Top is just the same thing as you using 0% like that. And as you can see now, it's at the top. So top 0% is the same thing as top. So here I can just use top for y, and it will still work. So all those texts, they are just predefined value for all these number are there like that. So again too, if I want it to be center on the x and y, what I can just do is to do center. When you mention center for x, the y too is already center. You don't need to do center, because it's only center by default. And as you can see, the image is going to be at the center of that box. It's going to the center because here we are using body. If I use H1, you see that now is working relative to that box, not so now at the center like that. It's positioned at the center. No, by default is always by this top left. That's where it used to be, top left like that, which is going to be, or you can say left top, because you can arrange it anyhow you want since it's a shorter property. So now as you can see, that's where it used to be by default. But if I don't want it to be there, I can mention the right side, then it's going to go to the right of the box. Or you can do 100% like this, which is the same thing, because right means you are going to the end, which this is 0% and this is 100%. Or you can see it, some people will type 00. 00, x on 0 is this, and y0 is top, so which means it will be by the left top. So this value is the same thing as you using left top like this. So CSS have some of these predefined value that you can use, which are going to be translated to normal value there. Or if you need your own custom placement, then you mention the value that you want. For example, from the left, we want it to be 200 pixels. So from here to here, 200 pixels. On the Y, it will be center. But if you don't want it to be center, you can just mention 0 pixels. And once you save, as you can see, from left, it will be shifted by 200 pixels. But the 200 is really much. So let me use maybe 50 pixels like this. And as you can see, it will move by 50. So you can control it the way you want, or you use the predefined CSS value there like that. So you can use any one of them and it will work. Now you are the one in charge. You are not using the predefined CSS value, and that's the only place it's going to be. Even if you increase the browser width, it will always going to be at that place because pixels don't change. It doesn't depend on what is going on the page. But you know, assuming it's percentage now, and we use 100, you see that it will always follow because percentage is depending on something, and once it change, it will recalculate the value. But it is pixels. Pixels don't change. No matter what is going on the page, it will always maintain that same position. So if you know that that thing will never change, no matter what is going on, you stick with pixels and you move it to that place. But if you know that this thing is based on what is going on the page, you don't use pixels, you use the percentage or you use the predefined CSS value like that. So I'm going to change this thing back to body because kind of like, you know, easier to see there compared to putting it in these other elements. So we have this background position that you can use to position your elements. So I'm just going to use the default one that used to be there, which is this top left. Just as if we are not changing it, because that's what the browser is going to use by default, which is 0, 0. So this one is 0, this one is 0. Those are the values that they are going to be translated to. Again, now we now have background size, which is what you can use to change the size. This one to have its own predefined value, or you can specify it yourself. So when you're talking about background size, you talk about the width and you talked about the height. So again, too, you can use it to set only the width, or you can use it to set the height and the width of the element there. So the first value is the width. The height is not needed because it will preserve the aspect ratio of the image. Once we increase the width, it will adjust the height so that it still maintain this structure that you have there. But if you want to change the two of them, then you have the second value here to change the height of the stuff. Or you can use some of the predefined CSS value that I have there. But for now, I'll just use, so I want my width of the image to be 350 pixels. So this image now, the original size there is 200 and something, but I'm changing it to 350. By the time I'm displaying it, this is the size that I want to use. Even though the original size is 2 something, but this is the one I want to use, and that's why it's still started pixelating, because we're now stretching it more than what is there like that. So, or if you want, you can increase it more, maybe like 500 pixels, and you see that the height is changing, because once the width change, it will draw the height so that it makes sure that the stuff is still arranged correctly like that. But instead of you using this kind of a value, you can use CSS predefined value. So some of the predefined value that we have here is this contain. So what is contain? So what contain is going to do is that what is going to do is this. So when you use any image as a contain, now this is where it stops. So it will keep dragging this image here until this edge here touches where that container stop. And you know I'm using body. That's why I'm doing it like this. Assuming I'm doing H1 now, you know, H1 2 stop around here, or whatever is stop. So what is used to do is that this image now, it will keep dragging it from this diagonal here until it touches the edge of the container. Once it touches the edge of the container, then it will stop. Its own job is to drag, to make sure that this edge here touches the edge of the container where it's being used. Now, this is the original place where this edge is. So what it will do is that it will keep dragging it until it touch the edge of where that box is. And you know we are dealing with body, so that's why I'm using that place. And once this one is saved now, you see that it will keep dragging it until it touches the edge. And once it touches the edge like this, then it stop. So it will drag it from that diagonal side, and it will keep moving it until that edge touches the container. As you can see that there is some extra space down here. It doesn't care. The only thing is to do is that it will drag the image until it touches the edge. And once it touches the edge, then it stops. Can you see? So it only cares about the edge of the image and the edge of the container. Once it touches the edge, then it stops. And as you can see that it's changing because the value used to change, because it's is a relative value. So once the container change, as you can see, it will keep dragging until it touches the edge of that container like that. But what if you don't care about the edge of the container? You want this image to fool the entire container there. You don't care whether it's is more than that or not. You always want this image to fool that container, like to fool the width, and at the same time it will fool the height of the container are there. So that's where this CSS predefined value comes in, which is known as a cover. But there's a problem with cover. So this one too, it will be dragging from the edge, but it will keep dragging it until this image cover up the entire container. That's this one. Now when you're using content, it will drag it until it touches the edge. But for cover, it will keep dragging the image until it cover up the entire container, which means it will just keep dragging. It doesn't care whether this thing is outside or not of that container. It will keep dragging until everything is covered. That's where the name is coming from. So now if you save it now, can you see? We cannot see some part of the image again because there is already drag, and again it will cover everything because that is its own job. To keep dragging until the entire container is covered. It's doing like this. It will do like another way based on the container, the height of your container, because it's depending on the height. If the height is small, it won't take much image out of the screen compared to this one that we don't have too much of we have too much of content inside the stuff. So if I change this in now from body and we replace it with H1, you see that you can see that it quickly filled the stuff. And again, too, some stuff are cut out because we want it to cover the stuff. So it will just cut out some area there because after dragging the stuff and as it's dragging it, some areas are going out. But if you use contain, that one now, so contain like this and save it, as you can see, after dragging, once you touch the edge, then that one stop because it doesn't care about whether it cover the height or that edge that is dragging. Once that edge touch and it starts saying that you want to go outside, then it will stop. So it doesn't go more than the edge of the image. But you cover that one, cut out anything cuttable until the entire box is covered. So each one of them, the one you use, is depending on the design. So like that. We're going to be seeing it when we started putting all these in use there like that. So what's my time? I still have, all right, so we still have these other properties that we need to talk about, which is this background. So this background, if you look at some of the sites that we look at, see that what they are using is background. So this background is a shorter property that you can use to set all these other properties. So you can use background to set color. You can use it to set image. So instead of me using this background image or background color, I can actually use it to do the stuff at once. So let me return this one back to body so that I can do the same on the H1 separately, and you see it there because I don't want to clean all those ones. So let me select H1. What you know before is just to do background color to apply color. For example, here background is going to be red like this, but you don't need to do it. You don't even need to put color because this background is a shorter property that it can set color to for you. So if you put color there, it knows that it's supposed to set color. If you put URL, it knows that it's supposed to set image. If you put linear gradient, it knows that it's supposed to set image. The shorter properties can help you to set all this color or image there. And again, too, it's go more than that. All these other properties that I'm specifying on a different line, you can put all of them on one line. But this thing is crazy. Even VS Code itself did not know the order. VS Code will not give you the order for the shorts because the way you arrange it, and again, too, you used to change based on the property you are mixed together because it's really, really complex. That's why people don't really use it like that for short-term property to combine a lot of other background together. If you go to other short-term property that are kind of simple, this thing will tell you what you need to pass. But when you deal with background, it doesn't. VS Code will not tell you because the combination there is really, really complex. But you majorly what you always use it to do is to set your image or is to set your color if you don't want to mention background color or background image, and you want to be able to quickly switch the stuff. So you can use this background to set the stuff like that. So if I want, I can use it to set gradient by just using the linear gradient, so red, blue like this, and you see that it will still work. So you don't need to put image or color before it starts working. So you can use this for color or the image, but it's go more than that. You can supply other property too on this line. And some of them you have to use comma, some you don't use comma. As you can, I can supply this in that I don't want it to repeat, or I want it to repeat, and so forth like that. So it can set all these properties that you're seeing that we have been mentioning since. You can set all of them at once, but it's really complex to use like that. So you should always stick with all these long one, and anywhere that I know that those one, the shorthand is really easy, we always use the shorthand. But for the background, it's crazy there. It's not something you'll be putting in your head, because there's a lot of things to mix together when you want to apply all this property at once. So like that. And the way you arrange it matters. It's not like the other one that you can arrange it anyhow. This one, arrangement matters. So that's why it's really crazy there like that. So again, we have this background blend mode. And if you have been noticing this thing, since you see that we apply color and we still apply image, but we are not seeing our color when the image cover up the stuff. Is there, as when we are not using background cover, you see, or when we're using content, you see that it's actually there, but the image is always on top of the color. When you apply color and image together, the color will be at the back, the image will be at the front. But what if you now want to mix them together? So that's where this background blend mode comes in. Because there's some design that you want to have background color, you want to have background image, but the two of them are going to mix together to give you this kind of a nice design that you want there. So you can use background blend modes to blend both the colors and the image together. And we have different methods that you can use to blend them together. So the one you use determine what this thing is going to do. As you can see, there's different, just like we've used Photoshop before, but I've seen something like this where you can mix different layers together there. So the same thing too, you can mix, because like, you know, the image is one layer, then the color is another layer, but the image layer is always at the top while the color layer at the back. So but you now want to join the two layers together, so you can use any of the methods that you want, and it all depends on the image and the color you are using. As you can see now, the the way it's mixing it. But the one that always works best for most of my design that I work with is this multiply here. I always use it a lot. As you can see, it always makes them together the way I want. And again too, if I don't even want this color to be much, what I can now do now is to apply the RGBA that we talked about. Now, because the color, as you can see, is mixing them, but the color is not allowing anything to still go on top of it like that. But I can specify my alpha channel. You know, alpha channel between 0 and 1. So which means, I mean, this thing is semi-transparent. You can see now the color is, I'm reducing the channel. So the image will still be there, the color will still be there, but it's not that much. It's not using everything. It still allows me to see a lot of things through it like that. And the one that will always work best, or the one you always see, it is the black version of the color that you want to use, or the black in general. It always gives nice design like this, so that the image is not taking attention from the content that you place on top of it. That's where you normally use, or we normally use something like this, because then save this stuff. Can you see now? Let me even what's that? All our, okay, let's change the color. So the color should just be white for now. I think this white is clear. Let me use a color that background is fighting with. Which one can I? Let me use red. I think red is close. As you can see now, the background and the text are fighting each other, because this one is fighting for attention, this one too is fighting for attention. So what we can do is we want to show that the background, but don't take attention from the content that we have. So what we can do here is to now blend the background and the color that we apply there together. And once this thing comes in, as you can see now, that's a difference. It's there, but it's not fighting with the content again, because it's not taking. And if I still want to dim it more, I just need to control it from here, maybe around that point 8. And as you can see, it's there, but it's not fighting with our content. Because when you have content and that content text there, or the whatever content you have there is fighting with background, what you do is to apply color there. But you know, color cannot come on top of background. The next thing you do is to mix them together. And the mixing that works best is this multiply. We have other one depending on whatever your design is giving you there. You can use different mode to mix them together. So it will always work, but multiply works best for me. Almost all the design I work with, multiply is what I normally use. Sometimes you use this overlay, but multiply is what I normally use it because it works with black a lot. So kind of a move image to the back and the color will now be at the front. Then you can now use this one to control the level that the color is going to cover. Since it's close to 1, it means it's covering a lot. And if it's close to 0, it means it's not covering like that, because see now. So because we really remove a lot of things from that color, it's not transparent, so it will only show a lot of things that is coming through it. But if it's close to 1, then whatever that is there, they will always go to the back and you won't see much of them, so that the content we have, the user will be focusing, we will still be seeing that background, but the major focus is going to be on the text. Not that the text and the background will now be fighting with each other, like, because now your eyes will be, which one should I look? You see the background, or because now look at this one. Kind of hardly to see this number 4 items. But once this one is back, as you can see, everything is clear. So this is one of the areas that I normally use this blend mode there, because I want that background, but I still don't want it to take over the attention that the content is supposed to take from the user there, like that. So, and again, we have this filter, and we're going to be seeing this one later on. The other one we can use here is this background attachment, which is what you can use to specify how your background is going to be attached to the container. If you look at it as I'm scrolling, the background too is scrolling along with the other content. So we can actually talk to it that we don't want it to scroll. Wherever we place it, that's where it is going to stay. Don't maintain that location. Don't scroll with the content. So we can use this background attachments. And here, what we want to do is fix. So once we use fix, it means wherever you place it, that's where it's going to stay. So now if I save this stuff now and scroll, as you can see, it will never leave that side. It will not scroll with the other content. So content will now be going on top of it. And that's what some sites used to use that when you are scrolling, it will look as if that image is there, but the something is now covering the stuff. It's not moving, but the background that is coming below is going on top of it. What you can use for something like this is this one here. For example, let me see, which we have a container here that can cover up that image. Yeah, I think we have this, all this OL. Let me give them. So OL like this. Background color should be white like this. So now let me save and keep yeah, you can see, but it's still showing on that. But normally, assuming all of them are in a particular container that have that white, you see that the image will be there, but it will not look as if they are going on top of the stuff like that. So we can use something like this for that place. But for now, let me see if I can arrange it like that. Yeah, so let me just cut out everything that is inside body like this. So go up, yes. So let me cut out everything, put it inside main, then save, go back to the page. Then here we have main, then the background is going to be any color you want, but I'm going to use white. I think white is more and as you can see here, but it's showing at the edge. But later on, when we talk about other properties to remove all this spacing, it will look as if we are moving on top of the stuff. The image is there, but it's not showing, it's not moving with the content. It's because of this background. What is there by default is scroll. So which means as you are going, the background too is going to follow. But if you don't want it to follow the content, then it's not going to be this. What is going to be there is fixed. So wherever it is, it will always stay at that position. Wherever you place it, if it is down too, that's where it will stay. It will never leave that position where you fix it there. So that's going to be all. Tomorrow, the next class, we are going to be talking about the display, or no, we're going to be talking about this box model, and that's where we're going to see how to remove all this extra space that the browser is generating, all this margin and whatever stuff that is generating it, because we don't want this thing to come out like this. So we're going to remove all of them in the next class by talking about the margin and padding there like that. So we're talking about width, we're talking about the height, and some other property that deal with the box. So everything in CSS is just box. You can see here, even the letter that we type, it looks like in a box, because everything is always treated like a box. So there's some property related to that box. If you come to under this computer, as you can see, each box have this margin, border, padding, and the actual content you place inside it. For example, now if I click on this, all element we have it. So as you can see now, this element is telling us that there is margin top of 21.440 here. The same thing for the proton, but there is nothing like border, there is no padding, but the content width is now this. So how do you control all these things? Because every element on the page will always have this thing. So how do you control it? That's where the box model is going to come in, because that's where it look like box. So everything in CSS is just a box. Even if it is text, it's still a box, because that box is always around everything. Whether it is image, anything on the page, it always treats them like a box. And those boxes here, we have this property: the margin, the border, the padding, the actual content you put inside that box, then the height and the width. So this is the width and this is the height of the box. So the width of the box is 390.286 pixels. The height is 36.571 pixels. So, and we're going to see how to start controlling it, because it's not every time all these boxes just be going anyhow. You want it to maintain a particular width, or you want to have a border around it and so forth like that. Just like all this stuff that you always see on different sites there like that. So if you look at some of these stuff, they are not going past a specific width. See that there's still a lot of space here, but they stop here because they are limiting the width of the container there, or the elements. So which is something you can check there too, because now it's now on a small screen. But let me go to a bigger screen. Yeah, because the thing is working based on whether you're on small screen or big screen. We're going to talk about that one too when we are talking about even what they are using here now. Is it grid or flex there? But I'm seeing line here. So this one, yeah, grid. So we're going to talk about this one when we're talking about display like that. So what they're using here is grid to limit that box, and each one of them did not pass this side. But once we talk about that property, the display is here. I've already prepared them down just for us to get there. So as you can see, after this one, that's where we're going to the display. So what that Microsoft is using there, as you can see here, is part of what we are going to talk about there like that. So that's going to be all for today's topic.